Hi. Welcome to our Lazy R Homestead. I'm Heather.
And I'm Tom.
I was cleaning the kitchen and decided we needed a better storage solution for our bread. We have 2 adult children who buy their own groceries, and so a lot of times there'll be bread stacked on top of each other, and when they're full loaves they don't even fit one loaf all the way across very easily, and we end up getting the bread smushed. I don't know if you can see that, but this has been crushed. I told Tom that I wanted to make something.
I said, give me the measurements.
I measured the space between the backsplash and the outlet, which is about 24 inches, 16 inches tall by 16 inches deep. Now the cabinet is only about 12 inches, but I looked at the space from the backsplash to the stove and it was a lot more than 16 inches, but I've kind of allowed room for getting in and out. So about 16 inches was the most that I wanted the shelf to stick out. And the bread had measured a little less than a 5-inch square on the end and 12 inches long. So I wanted the shelf depth to be more than 12 inches if I needed to put the bread in from its end. I hadn't yet determined which way I was going to put the bread, but I looked at the size of the bread and the size of the space available. If I wanted to turn the 12-inch length of the bread sideways, I would have 12 inches and 12 inches available, but I wouldn't have room for a partition between the 2 loaves of bread, or they would be smushed. And I wanted to have a little extra space. Sometimes a bread loaf might be a little longer than others. So I determined that I couldn't put the bread in sideways and have a less deep shelf. I needed to put the bread in end in first. So if I have, and I determined that I needed 2 smaller spaces, one for each of our adult children and one for us. So if I had 2 breads side by side, which is how much I wanted to be able to store per person, that is about a 10-inch space across for each person. And I wanted a divider in the middle. So that would be 20 inches of space inside the cubby. Then I needed to have, I wanted a shelf their bread would sit on so it wasn't sitting on the counter, and a shelf for our bread to sit on. And I needed the total height to be less than 16 inches. And so I wanted the height of the girls' bread cubbies to be about 7 inches tall, so they could have the 5 inches of bread and then a couple inches to get their hand in and out. And I wanted the same amount of space available for us, so that's another 7 inches. I gave the sketch to Tom and we looked in the garage for wood scraps.
I found some 3/4 inch plywood in the garage that seemed to fit with the dimensions that we needed for the design.
I kind of drew out a plan of like exactly how I wanted it to look. When I drew it out, I drew in the thicknesses of the wood and everything, and I put in my suggested measurements.
When Heather gave me the design, I compared it to the pieces of plywood that I had found in the garage. The design called for the depth of the shelves to be 14 inches, and I had a piece that was perfect. It was about 18 inches deep and about 4 feet long. So I cut the shelves out of that piece and then went on to my second piece, which I was going to use for the sides. The side pieces were supposed to be 12 inches tall. The piece that I had was only about 11. So the design called for 2 inches on the bottom, below the bottom shelf, and about 1 inch above the top shelf to create a little lip to keep the bread from sliding off. So we adjusted the design slightly and shortened the lip at the top and left the space at the bottom at 2 inches to accommodate the 11-inch wide piece of plywood that I had. Okay, we're ready to put our bread shelf together. I have the pieces all laid out here and they're already pre-marked where I'm going to drill the holes, and marked on the inside to help us line up the pieces so that they are exactly in the right place.
Okay, mine's centered. How's yours doing? Did I move it?
Nope.
All
okay,
right, I'll hold it here if you want.
Now these side pieces are just a little bit longer than the back pieces are wide, so we probably want to decide whether we want them to be flush on the back of the shelf or flush on the front of the shelf. I'm inclined to say flush on the front just so it looks better, but we could probably sand it down a little bit if we needed to sand it a little bit.
Now what?
Okay, so we're ready to drill our holes, so I just need if you could hold it steady so it doesn't tip or slide. And I'll get our drill.
What are these? This is the other
top
shelf?
shelf.
Okay.
Yep. So I'll get in here to get nice and straight.
You were looking to make sure it was at a right angle in all directions?
Yep.
Certainly didn't pop out. So what size drill bit was that?
It's a 5/32 inch drill bit, which I looked up online to see that is the recommended pilot hole for a number 8 wood screw, which is what we're using. So I'm going to put a little bead.
I do the non-technical version of holding up the screw to the drill bits and seeing which drill bit is the thickness of the inner part, the core of the screw, but not the, as far out as the threads go. So the threads still have something to grab.
Yep.
That's my non-scientific way of doing it.
Okay. So I want to put a little bead of glue on there so you can take that piece
okay.
off. So this is a 2-inch screw. The plywood is 3/4 inch thick. So you want at least double that thickness. Okay. So I went with 1.5 inches.
I just wanted you to face the camera when you're talking.
Plus an extra 1/2 inch just for good measure.
That was spinning. It wasn't going. That's not inset.
No, it's not.
I want an inset. That split the wood, didn't it?
No, it didn't.
Oh, okay. It's the line. It's hard to see with. It's still not inset.
It's just spinning in the hole.
It's stripped. Can you take it back out?
I think the hole was too big.
Yeah, I think so. Do we have some bigger screws we can use? So maybe they were wrong, whatever you looked up, maybe they were wrong about what size you should drill the hole. I hope this one works.
Yeah.
But I want it inset.
Yep.
Nope, it's spinning. So whatever guide you read was wrong. So now our holes are too big. So we need to get some bigger screws. Do you want to go find some bigger screws in the garage?
So I went into the garage and I found what I hope are going to be some better screws to go in here since we drilled our pilot holes a little big. So let's give these a try.
But we're only going to use those on this side, right?
Only on this side. We'll drill smaller holes for the rest.
That's gripping and it's sunk in. Good, good, good. Everything is still lined up?
Yep, looks good from that perspective, so hopefully it doesn't slide when I put these other screws in.
Can I
We're
put the
gonna-
last one in? Especially since you're kind of blocking the camera. Nobody can see anything but your shoulder. Okay. Oops. Do you want to explain why it makes that horrible noise when we screw in?
This is an impact driver. So it's not just turning, it's actually kind of pounding on the screw just a little bit, and that helps it actually drive into the wood better.
Talking to the board.
That helps it to drive into the wood better, and not strip as it spins.
Not strip the
head.
thread.
Strip the thread on the head of the screw.
All right.
Okay.
So this is currently, the bottom is clamped into this sawhorse. Is it time to unclamp it, or we?
Yes. I think we should unclamp it, and I think we should attach the other side to the other side of this shelf.
I don't know where the latch is. Oh, it doesn't have a thing you have to press first?
Nope.
So what are we doing?
I want to flip it up.
And put the other one of
Put
these
the
on?
other side on
Okay.
up here,
All right.
and then we can just insert.
Can we turn this so they have a different angle this time?
Sure.
And you need to change your drill bits to match the screws?
I do. Here, why don't you take a look at that? This is going to go here with those 3 X's facing up.
There's a crack in there. I want that side hidden.
That's going to be on the inside.
Okay. It's only the crack is only in the top
Top
layer, so it's not going to be structurally ruined. We live near an airport.
Okay, so let me grab another drill bit.
Okay, I'll take this one out. So you're going to do it my way? The way where you eyeball it?
Yeah, so 5/32 obviously was the wrong side, so I'm going to try.
Line it up with the screw that we want to use. Make sure it's the right. You know how if you look at a screw, you've got sort of, it's like a nail as the inner core, and then you've got the spiral screw parts going around that. So you want your drill bit to only be as big as the inner core of your screw, the solid part. You don't want it to be as big around as the spiral that goes around it.
So I'm going to go with this one, which is 7/64. This is our flush sides right here, so if there's any
Overhang, it needs to be on this side.
on that side.
I'm just going to wipe this glue off the inside here with my fingernail. Another thing that you're doing is you're going part way down and then lifting up, which pulls out some of the sawdust from drilling, and then going back down to finish your hole.
That's correct.
All right.
You can tell 'cause it's the one that's not on the X.
Yeah. Whoa, man, that's crushed there. Oh.
Yeah, that's the thing with plywood. It's not as soft as like a pine or even a hardwood. Just Crack.
All right. So now we need to put the other shelf on. Ooh, it fits just perfectly on here. Okay, I'm just going to scrape off the extra glue.
Okay, this one I think we probably still want to have the thing upright in order to
Oh, to wedge it in there.
wedge it
Okay.
in there.
Yeah, I see. Which side is supposed to be flush? Looks like this side. Looks like I have the flush side.
Yes.
Okay. All right. This is not quite, there we go. I have to just kind of nudge this over to be flush. This is flush, this is flush.
It's going to be a little harder to glue this way, but
Well, what we need to do maybe is drill these 3 holes, flip it, drill those 3 holes, glue and glue, line it all up, screw, 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 flip, screw, screw, screw.
or just do one whole side completely, because then with this attached we can kind of pry the other side apart to squeeze the glue in. But
Not really. Not really, honey. It doesn't want to pry apart. You're going to crack wood if you try to do that. It's not flexible.
okay.
Why do you put your finger so close to the drill hole?
Experience.
No.
I'm dangerous.
Maybe dent it first and then
Yeah.
just push it in to give it a stability.
Yep.
And then make sure I'm... All right. The cord's on your side, so here we go. All right, so we'll flip this and do the other side. Okay. Yeah, it's really hard. It's kind of easy when you're going through the layers this way, but when you get to the next board, it seems harder.
That's good, because
Yeah.
that means you're in that really hard
Center wood?
center layer, because there's a softer layer on either side of it.
Hold on, I need to make sure this is lined up again. It's very loose on this side. Are you lined up?
Yep.
Okay. Move just ever so slightly while you were drilling, because see, it's like freaking loose. Okay, I've got ooh, that sawdust in my eye. Hold on.
Yep.
Okay. That was a little easy. Here, I can put it down.
Yeah, it looks like
It's lined up
it's
all
going
right?
through the right layer.
Okay. All right, so wood glue. Look, see, one side is whiter than the other. It's a door. So you want to put it on this side and then we'll kind of smear it, or make sure it's just not too thick and drippy. And then we'll flip it. Okay. Hey, Daisy. Now, which end was the top and which end was the bottom? Looking good. Gotta remember to press it. Ooh. I can't even snap that off. I'm gonna have to like flick it off with a screwdriver or something. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Flip it.
Took that piece right out. Did it the hard way. Like I was flipping a mattress or something.
Okay, you want to hand me a screw?
Glue's starting to set a little bit.
Hold on a second. This side, this is sticking out too far, so make sure you're flush on your side. Because this is, there we go. Are you flush?
Flush, but not lined up.
Now I'm not lined up. There we go. Good. You want to hand me a screw? Or two? Okay. Well, now I'm not anywhere near the right place. Just enough for me to get this in it. Okay, let go. Oops. All right, I'm good. There we go. Right. So that's our basic bread shelf. Now, do you have a piece cut for the divider? All right. And are we screwing that in, but without glue? Are we gluing also?
Probably doesn't need to be glued.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it probably needs to be glued. Okay. Do you have marks?
Do not have marks.
Well, we need a tape measure or something then. Oh man, that's tight. There's a problem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I just need to get it lined up. Like, you can't put it in and then tilt it. You've got to like pry it up and slide it in this way.
I got 22 and
You have a pencil?
And 22 and 3/8. It's a little bit slightly different, so I'm gonna have to fudge it. So I measured the distance from here to here, which is 22 and 3/8. Half of that is 11 and 3/16. So we go to the midpoint, and that's where the center of the divider is going to be. So since the divider is 3/4 of an inch wide, we're going to go 3/8 of an inch on either side of that center point, and that's where the edges of the divider are going to be. So I made marks at those 2 points, and we would just basically just take the hammer and just kind of tap it over into position.
Can't talk.
So
and we should do it to the other side too, because
so we're going to do that just to kind of get it in the right place, and now we're going to try and do that on the other side.
He's made a mark here and here, which is where or here and here, which is where this wood needs to line up. And on the bottom. And we've done it on this side and the back.
Let's see if it's moved in the back. Okay, so I'm going to use my carpenter's square to kind of decide where the screws are going to go up top here.
You're lining up with the center of the...
Right, with the center of the divider. I'm going to take my pencil, and like I did, I didn't say it earlier, but like I did on the sides, the first screw is an inch from the end, and the second one is right in the middle. And this square is 7 inches long, and the board is 14, so I can go all the way to the end of the square and make a mark, and that's pretty much right in the middle. And I'll put an X there so I don't lose my dot.
So it's easier to see that it's a purposeful mark as opposed to just a speck.
And that's what we'll drill for our screws.
I think we should just go ahead and do this side before we flip it.
Yeah, because that divider will definitely move if we flip it over.
I think so. I'm going to hold this side down because it's a little bit loose on this side.
Okay, so now I'll drill my pilots.
His pilot holes, that is.
Probably should have put my gloves on to get splinter.
Yeah. This thing is pretty heavy. It's also going to be pretty solid.
If we wanted to, we probably could have gone with something like a masonite or
well, I don't know about that, but I mean,
MDF board or something
but
like that.
that's not what we had. It's all assembled, right? That's the whole thing.
That's it, yep.
Except for it's upside down. So the 2 inches are the feet. And so one daughter can have their bread on this side, the other can have her bread on this side, and we'll have the top for our bread and baked goods. Maybe a cookie jar.
Yep.
So now we still have to sand it, paint it. Well, we need to put some wood putty on there.
Yep.
So.
Put some putty in there, fill in these screw holes, fix some of these problems.
Yep, little wood chips and stuff. Yeah, I do.
And maybe now we should take it inside and see if it fits.
Well, we can do that, but we don't necessarily need to show it, because we'll show it at the end. All right. Create the life you want to live. Bye.
Bye.